And starting to bring your attention to your breath. Just following that incoming breath, outgoing breath, as it enters and leaves through the nostrils. Feeling the cool air as it comes in and its warmth as it goes out. Noticing which of the two nostrils you can feel the breath flowing in and out of. And seeing which of the two nostrils you can pinpoint the exact touch of the breath as it comes in, as it goes out. Thoughts like clouds in the sky there. You're not really paying attention to them, you're focusing on your breathing. And every time your mind wanders off, peacefully bringing it back to the breath. And then shifting your attention from the breath to the palms of the hands and just noticing the temperature of the palms of the hands, temperature of the backs of the hands. Noticing both the palms and the backs of the hands at the same time. Bringing your awareness to the fingers and the spaces between. Noticing the extra sensitivity at the tips of the fingers where the nerve endings are. And then drawing your attention through the fingers and hands and into the wrists. So you're just aware of the space and the shape and the feel of the wrist joints, that as you breathe in, you can travel your breath down through the arms into the wrists and feel the wrists expanding, opening up. And then bringing your attention to the soles of the feet. Noticing the temperature of the soles of the feet, temperature of the tops of the feet. Feeling both the sole and the top of the foot at the same time. Aware of the toes and the spaces between. And then drawing your attention through toes and feet and into the ankle joints. And just aware of the space and the shape and the feel of the ankles. And as you breathe in, feeling the breath travel down through the body, through the hips and legs into the ankle joints. And allowing those ankle joints to expand with the breath and open up. And then bringing your attention to the space inside your mouth. Just aware of the shape in the mouth, the teeth and the gums, the tongue and the root of the tongue, the hollowness of the throat. And finding that soft spot, the base, and the throat just melting into the base of the skull there. And for a moment, holding the feet and the hands and the mouth in your awareness simultaneously. There's a space behind the eyes, between the ears. And at the base of the skull where the head and the neck meet. Allow the breath to come into this joint and expand it slightly. Find an awareness of the whole of the spine, working your way down from the neck, the upper back, the middle, the lower back, all the way through to the coccyx. Noticing the spine and how it moves as you breathe. And as you breathe in, noticing the expansion in your rib cage. And feeling as if some of that expansion can extend into the shoulders. Filling up the shoulder joint. Feeling as you breathe how the diaphragm fills and travels down into the pelvis. Filling the pelvis and traveling into the hip joints and expanding the hip joints. So that with one breath we feel as if we can breathe into the hips and the shoulders simultaneously. And then bringing your attention to the knees and the elbows just for a moment. Just feeling the difference between that complex knee and the simplicity of the elbow joint. And then having for a moment in your awareness the ankles and the wrists, the knees and the elbows, the hips and the shoulders, all the major joints of the limbs. And as you breathe in, letting the breath come into all these joints and feeling them all expanding. And the breath traveling up and down the spine. Coming into the neck joint where it meets the head. The jaw and the throat relaxing. And so we're aware of the whole body. The spaces within, the spaces around us, the floor beneath, space above. Tuning into your right hand side and your left hand side. The soles of the feet and above your head. You have a sense of the whole space around you, all the spaces within. All the movements caused by your breathing. And all the different sensations like electrical currents running through you. And it's from this place of complete awareness that we begin our yoga practice. So aware of everything that's going on in the body right now, taking a slightly deeper breath. As you prepare to begin moving. That first movement being that breath, and then moving into, after a couple of breaths, into those fingertips and toes. Could even have a little stretch out if you wish to. And then we're just going to bend up the knees and begin with our little knee bend rock. If you've been following, been starting the sessions like this just to relieve some of the stress week to week. So this is a really good stress relief, worth doing every day if you can remember to. Soles of the feet on the floor, gently pushing through the feet, letting all the work come from the feet and not the back. The back and the body like a blob of jelly, just gently rocking. Find your rhythm. Every time your mind wanders off, just bring it back to this rhythm. As if there were a tune in the background you were dancing to. See if you can get your head to feel as if it doesn't quite belong to the body and is doing its own thing. So relax your jaw. And feeling as if every cell in the body is moving to this rhythm. Watch for any changes in your body that indicate it's time to stop. We're nearly at the 2 minutes. And then bringing it to a gentle stillness. Stretching out your legs. Just observing the body. Take a nice deep breath. Now the body is responding to this automatic switch into relaxation parasympathetic mode. And then from here we're going to move straight into doing tick-tock. We've got the feet out. We're going to tick toes in and release. Top, tick and release. Top. So going into again a nice rhythm. Tick, top, tick, top. Keep watching how on the tick the muscles engage and on the top they release. And slow it down to a pace where you can feel that release happening, just for a moment. Tuning into that rhythm, the mind will wander off as is its habit. You just keep bringing it back. And again, watching out for anything in your body that indicates you need to stop. We're at that 1.5 minute mark, so sometime between now and 2 minutes you might get that sign. And so when you're ready, gently bringing that stillness, again, just observing the response in the body. And just taking a couple of deeper breaths in preparation for movement. So we're going to wiggle the fingertips and the toes. And then we're going to roll onto our side. Just have a moment there to orientate in the room a little bit. Taking just a couple of deeper breaths. Waiting for the system to just prepare itself. It takes a little moment or two, but then you feel like, oh yeah, I probably can sit up now. So my plan for today, which we didn't discuss at the beginning, I'm sorry to say, with all the technical difficulties, hope it's all right, was to build upon a little bit of that, all that joint movement that we've been doing, but add now a little bit more stretching. So the idea being that when your joints are a little bit more awake and those interconnected tissues are functioning in a more healthy way, then it helps them, the big muscle groups, to have a really good stretch. So that's sort of the theory behind today's class. I'm assuming it's all right. Let's come up to standing. So as usual, it won't be a massive stretch. It will just make sure that we're targeting these groups. So let's start with a little warm up with tiptoes and heels. So give yourself time to stand up. If you stand up too quickly, you might feel a little bit dazed. Take your time, and then when you're ready, we're just going to start to do this rocking. If you did feel a little bit dazed, remember, grab your chair, hold on to the wall as you start to get your vestibular, your balance centers online. And this is what this little exercise really helps to do, as well as strengthening and warming up everything. You can just feel that warmth starting to come in. The rhythm of the balancing starting to become regular, so it's a nice regular rhythm. And then coming down to the floor and just feeling the floor sink into the ground. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, you're sinking into the ground. And a bit more. Let's just have a few little basic stretches. So we're just going to bring the hands around, turn the palms, and just feel the feet sinking as we reach. And we're really lengthening. Now then use the breath to lengthen a little bit more. As you breathe in, you reach up, but you leave the hips, the knees, and the ankles sinking down. When you breathe out, try to keep that reach. Then we're just going to go slightly to the side. Again, feel the feet sink, breathe in, reach with the breath. Like a helium balloon in your chest, lifting you up, but the hips and the legs sinking down. Coming back to the middle. Keep going. Over to the other side. Reaching as you breathe. Good. And then coming back to the center. Now, if your arms are getting all tingly, then just give them a break here for a moment. Because we're going to keep the arms up there in the same position. So just have a little break. And then we're going to do this twist in a tube, I call this. So we're in a tube and we're just twisting to look over the shoulder now. As you breathe in, reach. And sink the feet down. Back to the center. And then the other side. Reach. Sink the feet down. Good. And then again, we can give those arms a little bit of a break. By our side. And then start to feel that little orangutan arm feeling, which is quite good. Lovely. So let's go into our first stretch. We'll do a bit of joint work in a second. So we're going to have our hands here and look up and back. We're just going to breathe into this breastbone and give this breastbone a little bit of a stretch first of all. Couple of breaths, and then we're going to push those hips forwards. Make it a little bit stronger, looking up and back. And then keeping this position, we're going to bend the knees and then curl forward bend. And that's like lovely little movement of the spine. Remember, we're trying to move one bone at a time, the head last. Let the legs and arms go, take a breath. Tuck the chin in. Dangling head. And we're going to uncurl. Nice and slowly. Okay, adding the arms this time. So we've got that reach, both up and slightly back. So the hips are going forward, the head is going back, breathing in. Big stretch for that chest, and bend the knees, and once again, we're just counter posing this pose. Letting the head go, releasing the shoulders. Lovely. And then just uncurling again as you come up. Lovely. So a little bit for the joints. That's just, I'm just getting a little bit more length there in the body. So we're just going to start to work the ankles and the knees. So the knees are slightly bent as you come forward, and you can see that the hips here are also turning as we circle. I'm just trying to get a little bit of joint movement in. Because we've been doing this for the past few weeks, it will feel familiar now to move the joints in this way. And the joints will far faster begin to sort of loosen up and warm up. And then we'll bring that into a bit more pelvis. So bring a bit more emphasis into the pelvis. So really sticking the tail out in front and behind. Getting a bigger circle. You can see that I'm moving a little bit less in the legs as a result, but that's okay. And then of course change direction. Good. And then we can start to sort of do these interesting moves side to side. So get a little bit deeper into the hip stretching here. This side to side, and then this sort of half moon, which is forward and round. Forward and round. And you remember that you can then take this one into that figure of 8, which is where we're aiming for the whole time. And when you're going one way, you want to change direction. So we've got this nice movement into. Now, if you do suffer a little bit from, weak ankles or sore ankles, you can always give a little bit more. You know what to do. So each of us is individual. Like my ankles are a little bit weak, and they quite often complain when I do things. So, just having a little bit of extra input is always good. Okay, so if it's your knee, you can do the same thing. You sort of think about, moving, flexing it, and then of course the hips that we've just done. So a little bit extra is always okay. We'll just finish when you're ready with a bit of tiptoes and heels. This is just to balance everything out again. So we've got tiptoes and heels just a couple of times, so you can feel those feet, and then we're going to do some nice stretching for the legs. So if your balance is a little bit off, then I do recommend that you hold on to your chair, but we're going to lift one leg up and give this thigh at the front here a nice stretch. So if you need to get a chair, we'll be giving you an extra moment or two to do that. And if you can feel that stretch quite easily, so, for example, let me hold on to the door here. So I can feel this stretch, then I might start to pull it behind me, and that way I can create a bigger stretch. And then if I push my foot into my hand, I get a massive stretch. Now that stretch isn't for everyone, so just see how you go. You know, any one of those 3 positions down here is good as well. Okay, and then you want to swap sides. So again, decide how far you're going to take it. Now, if you are doing it like me and you want to practice balance, then you'd be bringing your arm up here to counterbalance that stretch. But remember, it's not so much about the balance, it's about getting a really good stretch down the front of the leg. Lovely. Good, so let's then do a slightly wider stance, so we get a little bit of stretch down the sides of the legs as well for this one. And we're going to do a forward bend. So we're breathing in, we're looking up, we might as well take advantage, have a little back bend, to push the pelvis forwards, and then bend the knees as you come down. And we're in this forward fold. Let the head go. So hopefully, you know, you can do a couple of rounds here. There's nothing that says that yoga poses are static. So, you know, if you want to work a little bit more on any of the joints, having a little bit of circling is always good. But we're going to try and really come into stretching the hamstrings. So you just have a gentle push with your feet. Turn around. So I've got my knees bent. Put my hands on the floor. The head is relaxing. And I'm just going to start to gently push with my feet. And immediately you can feel that stretch come in. So don't take it too far. Take it as far as you feel comfortable. Then let the rest of the body relax. Remember, your head and your shoulders aren't participating in this stretch. They can be completely relaxed. After a little while, perhaps the hamstring will warm up and you can push a little bit more. And then before you come up, just have a little look up. So look up, straighten the back, and then nice push with both the hands and the feet, breathing in. We're bringing it into the lower back a little bit more, and then back down for a wee moment, and then uncurling. Back up to standing. Lovely. Okay, so a little bit more for the legs. We're going to take one step, small step forward. And this back foot is going to turn just a little bit. Okay, so you know this stretch is quite a strong hamstring stretch. So hands can be at the waist, or you can use them in a minute to temper the stretch. So same thing, make sure that your weight isn't too far on the back foot or too far on the front foot. You want to be level so that your hips are nicely level. You can have a back bend first if you wish to, looking up, and then coming down. Keep both legs as straight as you can. So you might not come down very far before you feel that hamstring stretches too much, and that's okay. You can use your hand to temper the stretch if you wish. That means a slight little push, or if you've got blocks, you can have your hands on the blocks. Lovely. So try not to let the leg, that front leg collapse, so slight little push through the feet. Push through the feet as if you could push all the way through the body into the top of the head. And you get this lovely stretch, especially in that front leg. When you want to come out, easiest way is to bend that front knee and push up. And then we can swap sides. Okay, so again, check your hips. They're nice and square. And then it's coming down again. There's that nice back bend you can have. For those of you that remember, there's also a shoulder stretch here if you wish to do that. If it's all too much, too complicated, just stick with the legs. We are going to be doing some shoulders and arm stretching in a bit. And again, just check your legs, make sure that you're, see, I lost my balance there a little bit, so I'm going to push through my feet evenly. Get that extra bit of a hamstring stretch. Okay, so a little bit more, just this is the final one, a little bit wider legged. And just checking as well that you're aligned. So alignment on this one is really important for the hips. That means that this heel in front here is in line with the instep of that back foot. So if you were drawing a line on your mat, you'd be able to see that. Good. And then we're going to turn to face the front. And then turn slowly. I do it quite quickly because I'm used to it, but then we're going to turn back. So we're facing away. And you can do that a couple of times because it's really good for that hip rotation. But do it nice and slowly because you don't really want to create any niggliness in your knee. And then staying facing away, we're going to open out the arms. Take a breath in. Good. And then you can start to tilt. So if you think of your arms at being at 2:45, we're aiming to get them to 6 o'clock. Now, they might not. They might get a 5 to 5. That's fine. Okay, just see how that feels. Push into the floor a little bit to stabilize, breathe, expand. When you want to come out, pull up with that upper arm. Back to 2:45. And then all you do is rotate your feet. Go the other way. Again, you might need to, for your hips' sake, turn to face the front. And then turn to the side. Be careful of that front knee. There's a lot of rotation going on here for the joints. Hopefully they're a bit more used to it, but still, always pays to be cautious. Opening up 2:45. And then bringing those hands over. Breathing. It's not one of those poses that you can hold for that long, but it's really good for getting certain muscles to stretch. I can't see you, so I'm hoping that I'm not going too fast or too slow, but we want the feet facing forwards this time. Again, we're going to sink those legs in. We're going to come down onto the floor with a nice transition here. So breathing in, looking up and back. As you breathe out, knees bend, stabilizes you. So bend them first. You can always straighten them once you're down. Relax the legs. If you feel like you can widen your feet a little bit and have a bit of a bigger stretch there in the inner thigh, then just explore that. On the right side, you've enough, just let the legs go. And then we're going to have this one hand in the middle and then the other hand on the back. We're going to just turn. A nice little twist. You can feel there's a nice stretch in that inner thigh and hip as well. Remember, anytime you need to stabilize your joints, push through the floor. And same thing. You know what comes next, so when you're done, and this isn't to say that you have to come out, you can't actually see whereabouts you are, but it's just so you know what comes next. We're going to come from here and onto our knees. And then, you know, when we come down, that's when we can really feel that, oh yeah, look, I've really warmed up and loosened up that lower body. And we're just going to do a little bit for the spine here, just to make sure that we're being healthy with this cat and cow. So you know the cat and cow really well. We're starting off at the tail and like a wave that comes up. So keep working with that. Keep working with that tail up and down, up and down, up and down. In a nice, easy, slow, aware way. Almost like you can feel every single joint. And just starting to get really deep into that stretch. So at the end, giving that little bit of an extra tail, sort of trying to touch the back of the head. And then the tail trying to touch into the forehead. So you're giving that extra bit of a stretch there at the very end. When you've had enough of doing those, remember you can rest in child pose at any point. And breathe. Just give yourself time in this pose. It's a really good one for just letting the nervous system calm even more. Just letting the breath, the awareness be on your breathing. Some pleasant sensation in the body. If you're not comfortable, remember you can get comfortable, just find cushions to place in those places that would help. And then allow your breath to be just everything that's in your awareness. And for those of you that are a little bit uncomfortable in this pose and want to move on, just so you know, we are coming onto our fronts from here to give the spine a little bit of a stretch. So we'll start off with the Sphinx pose, which is always a really good starting place. We'll just feel into the back. So immediately you're in this pose, you can feel whether or not your lower back is playing ball with you and is able to relax. And more often than not, it's not. So I would immediately come down and do a little bit of a bottom roll here. So I've got hand upon hand, forehead on there, and I'm just starting the bottom roll. And this is just to help that lower back tension release. So allow yourself to get into this rhythm. The mind wanders off. Remember to keep bringing it back to the rhythm. And at some point the body will respond and you'll notice a little change. And around about this time is usually the time to bring it to standstill. So we're just going to feel into that. If you're not feeling that just yet, keep going. We're not quite at the 2-minute mark yet. And then when you're ready, bringing it to stillness and just feeling that relaxation in that lower back. And hopefully now, as we rotate back into our Sphinx pose, that we can feel, oh yeah, okay, so now I know how to let go. It might still be a bit tight, but there's that memory of that release. So we can just sit with this for a moment, let it release. And then we're just going to pull the mat towards us and look up to get that stretch up the spine. When you breathe out, just drop the head, let go of that pull. Let's do that a couple more times, breathing in, pulling in, and breathing out. Head down. So I reckon about 3 times to get this spine really warmed up for this next stretch that we're going to do. Coming into a cobra, so we've got the hands just below the shoulders, so just have a quick check, make sure they're there. The elbows are tucked into the side. The lower back is doing exactly the same thing, which is not very much at all. It's just being relaxed, and then we push through the hands. A little bit higher perhaps than before. Relax that lower back for a moment, looking up. And then coming back down. And resting. You might take a breath or two in between, or you might be straight into the next one. We want 3 of these. And the third one, when you're up there, you can start to pull the mat towards you a little. Feel that stretch up the spine. And then come and rest. Now, for some of you, that might be enough, and you might just want to repeat that once or twice more. If you want to work a little bit harder, you can point the feet up towards the ceiling for this next one. So it's up to you. It's exactly the same. Breathing in. Relax that back. Pull the mat towards you. And then, rest. And you can feel that that's quite strong. You might only want to do 1. You might want to do 2 or 3. But if you've decided that you've finished all of that back stretching, the next stretch is going to be that child pose, just to counter pose that. Sitting back on your heels, putting a cushion there if it helps you to relax, and creating loads of space, especially with the breath. It's like it's coming into that lower back and filling it like a balloon. And all the vertebrae in that lower back have been filled with the breath, filled with space. You can have the hands by the sides if you wish to rest your shoulders and your arms, but we are going to use them in powerful child next. So if they're there, that's fine too. Now you can start to give a little bit of a push with the hands so that as you breathe in, and feel that stretch right down to the tail, and as you breathe out, with a stronger push. So now we're going to stretch the back the other way, coming up onto hands and knees and tucking the toes under. We'll bring this into a head down dog. Now you can have the knees bent if you don't want your hamstrings to stretch too much, but do remember that you've warmed them up, so they should be prepared for this quite nicely. And again, you can feel that push come through the hands, and we're really opening that lower back. If you have a slight little push through the feet like we were doing when we were standing, you get that lovely hamstring stretch. Pushing through the hands. And you can even wiggle and waggle your tail a little bit and circle it, reminding it of all that fluidity and movement. Doesn't have to be big movements here, it can just be tiny enough to remind the body, oh yes, it's not static, it flows in my movement. And of course, when your arms have had enough, again, we come down to this child pose, bring the hands by the feet and just rest the shoulder. Great. You just take as long as you need. You'll be happy to know that we're going to be leaving that lower back and just coming up to working the upper back and shoulders a little bit more now. And then when we come down to lying down, we'll just be soothing the whole lot. So just a little bit of preparation for the upper back needed. So we're going to kneel or sit on a chair or on a block and have the spleen rock. So one hand just below the rib cage, the right hand just below the left rib cage, left hand on the elbow, and then we'll just start this little bit of rocking here. And we're just getting into a rhythm. It's quite nice to close your eyes on this one. And just tuning in with that rhythm. So sometimes soon there might be a change in the system. You might take a slightly deeper breath. Something might be saying you just need to stop, so listen to that. When you're ready to stop, just let your arms go so that you can breathe freely into this lovely warmth here at the front of the chest. So then we're just going to give our body, our upper back, a bit of a stretch here with a nice twist. So it's easy twist sitting with our legs crossed. Always a good place to start. We've got opposite hand to opposite knee. Remember to relax your legs and your lower back. They should be feeling like they want to. I've got the hand on the back, so keeping that lower back really relaxed. As you breathe in, there's a natural stretch up with the breath. Looking over that shoulder. If you close your eyes and pretend to look even further over the shoulder, you get a bit of a stronger twist, breathing into the stretch. Feeling any muscles that need to relax. Infused with that warmth from that rock that we just did, that spleen rock, to help it release. And come to the other side. When you feel like you're ready, relaxing that lower body. Nice deep breaths. Pretending to look over that shoulder. So as promised, a little bit of arm stretching. I'm going to bring this into what's called the hair pose in a second, but we're going to start off with just a shoulder blade squeeze. So we've got the fingers interlaced behind the back, rolling my shoulders together, I'm trying to lengthen and straighten my arms. So these are the hare's ears. And initially, I'm just holding it there, trying to relax my shoulders. Take a breath into the chest, hopefully feeling a bit more open, a bit more warm. And then once you feel like, okay, that feels comfortable enough, just start to sort of fold forward into a child pose. You might not be able to go all the way, and you might need a block on your head or a cushion. And the hare's ears are then coming up. And you can feel that stretch in the shoulders and the arms. Just trying to relax as much as possible. When you're done, just let go of the arms and come into a nice child pose. And the arms will feel quite heavy, orangutan-ish. And gently uncurling when you're done. That's the last one for the arms. Again, there's lots of nice, easy options for this. The first one is just to hold, put the hand on the shoulder, and with the other hand, just hold that elbow and pull it sort of away from you. Try not to twist with it. So that's the easy version. We're then going to try a bit harder by bringing this other arm underneath. So we're literally sort of hugging ourselves. And then we stand up the hands. Now, for some of us, we can actually reach our hands. And the higher these elbows are, the stronger the stretch will be. And all the time that you're doing this, relax your legs, your lower back, relax your jaw and your neck. Yeah, so there's three sort of different distinct phases of this one. At some point you just swap the arms over to do the other side, so the other hand goes on that shoulder, shoulder to shoulder. You're doing that one, standing the arms up, bringing hands to hands if you can. Elbows will lift if you can do a bit more, but do try and relax your tail and your jaw. Good shoulder stretch, this one. And when you're done, we're going to rotate those shoulder joints. And the salsa dance is a really good one here. But I also find that the two shoulders together, especially if you're doing this sort of wave in the spine, seems to be really good and deep as well. So, do you decide what and how you want to do that? You might want to go up and down and just sort of get that, again, that sense of motion. Good. Lovely. So having done that, for the upper back and the lower back and all of that, we're going to come back to our hands and knees position. Do a couple of these cat and cows. They're very good, and we can feel the difference there, the upper body. And then we're going to do this lovely one that involves pretty much all the joints in the body. So you imagine that you've got this pencil pointing down from your belly button, and you start, first of all, to circle. That's the easiest way to begin this one, just to draw circles on the floor with that pen. One way, and then the other. And if that feels fairly easy and comfortable, then you can start to bring it into a figure of 8, which is a little bit more intense on the joints. Then always remembering to change direction. So we're just making sure that the wrists and the elbows and the shoulders are also getting A nice bit of input. Lovely. Again, if you need your wrists to have a break, remember that not so good for the wrists movement, for the elbows and the shoulders. You still get quite a good bit of input if the elbows are on the floor. So it's up to you. See how you are. Great. So the only thing that's left to do really is the neck in terms of stretching and joints. So we're going to lie down for this next part of the session. Do make sure that you have your blanket close by, or any blocks that you need for your head, so that you can feel ready to relax when it's time to relax. But first we're just going to lie down and feel the body as it rests on the floor. I'm just going to give it a moment or two to catch up a bit in this position. It's probably quite tired, it's had a lot of input, so we're just going to let it sink into the ground a little bit more. Remembering that the body being relaxed is really helpful for working with the neck. So just feel the weight of your legs, feel the weight of the arms and the shoulders and the back, just letting go into the floor, just being allowed for a moment to rest. And then we can begin with this little head rock so that the head feels independent of the rest of the body. A little bit like the bottom roll, the head rock is little. It's like you're saying very tiny no. This is quite a strong neurological move, this one, so you might feel after all that we've done that you don't want to do this for too long, and that's okay. Remember, it's not the length of time that's important. Lovely. So when you feel ready to bring that to a close, we're just going to allow the breath to catch up with us. Just take a couple of breaths. Just feeling that feedback before we come and do this first stretch for the neck. So we're going to interlace our fingers and place them behind the head, the body again still feeling heavy on the floor as we gently lift the head up as if we're going to look at our belly button. Trying to bring the chin closer and closer in towards the breastbone. Relaxing your jaw. Feeling the joint in your neck melting a little bit as your throat relaxes. And when you get to the very top, we're just going to slightly turn the head as if we were going to look to one side. And then we start to give that stretch there on that side of the neck. Still trying to tuck the chin in towards, not quite the breastbone anymore, but you know what I mean. Again, bringing it back to the center. Tucking that chin in. Turning it the other way very slowly. Remember, it's got to be done slowly so you know what's coming. Relax that jaw. Tuck the chin in a bit more. Again, coming back to the center. Final stretch here, tuck the chin in a bit more if you can, relax the jaw and the throat. And then as if the head were a real weight in your hands, as you bring it down into the ground. Keep it weighted, keep the head totally relaxed. As you let go, just make sure you tuck that chin in a little bit. Release the arms from either side and just breathe for a moment. Feel the effects of that on the upper back and shoulders. We're just going to do another little reflex move. You know this one quite well. So wherever your head is touching, we're going to push into the floor. 1, 2, 3. Feel all the muscles activate and then release. Push into the floor. 1, 2, 3. And then release. Try and isolate it so the rest of the body isn't doing anything. 1, 2, 3. And then release. Spending a bit longer with that release this time. Feel it percolating through the whole body. And then bringing your hand to the forehead. As if you were going to make to lift the head off the ground, but the hand is stopping you. Push into the hand. 3 seconds and let go. So feel the muscles that activate and then the muscles that release. 3 seconds and letting go. And then allowing everything again to percolate after the 3 goes. Bringing the hand to one side, above the ear, roughly. And then pushing into the hand. 1, 2, 3. Again, letting go. Feeling the muscles that engage. And then release. And after the third one, bringing the hand down again, just observing for a moment how that affects the whole body. Before we try the other side. Push into that hand just above the ear, release. Activate the muscles, then let them go. And again, when that release happens that third time, again, just observe. So just coming into our little finishing sequence after all that neck work, we're in the perfect position for a nice little bridge. So bringing the feet up into and close to your buttocks. Trying to keep the lower back as relaxed as possible, so push through the feet. And then feel the core engage. So you're in that C shape, the chin is tucking in towards the chest. We're getting a nice stretch for the neck. That push coming through the feet. If you wish to stretch a bit more, maybe you can bring the arms up and over and reach with the arms. You know the sequence really well, so you can choose to do the bits that you really like. So onto the bridge comes the twist. So you've got the arms by the sides again. Lots of different options on how you do the twist. Quite nice and easy. It's just to have the feet together and the knees together and just let the legs flop to one side. Nice and gently looking in the opposite direction. If you want to work a bit harder with the knees, the closer the knees are to your hands, the stronger the stretch will be. And for some of us, if you really want a full body stretch, if you bring your feet to your hands, your hamstring stretch and a back stretch and a shoulder stretch and a neck stretch all at once. But it is quite tricky, this one. So I'm just sort of giving you lots of options here. And depending on how your body is feeling, okay, how much you wish to do, you can just drop the knees near or away from the hands. So you come back to the center there, you can just feel the body resting, really wanting its little rest now. Final pose though is this little fish pose in order to stretch the neck in the other direction. So we've got the legs straight, the hands, we're sitting on them, the elbows come in and we're looking up and back and just giving that neck a chance to sort of hang, but be supported by the floor at the same time. When you come down from that, there will be a little chemical exchange going on, so it's quite nice to feel that. And then optional here, so you might just want to go straight into relaxation, but you might want to check in with that first rock that we did at the beginning of the session. And just return to that for 30 seconds to a minute or so, just to feel the difference. Perhaps the head feels a bit looser, the shoulders, that's the spine just moving a little bit more with everything, feeling more coordinated. And then just allowing your own body to tell you when it's time to bring that to stillness. Noticing that lovely automatic response as the body comes into relaxation in a very natural way. Making sure that you're warm enough. And as you start to bring your awareness to the breath. And just following that incoming breath, outgoing breath. And the mind begin to focus on the body. Feeling the weight of the bones in your feet and toes. As if they were becoming so heavy. that they were melting through the muscles. Muscles having to let go and allowing them to sink into the ground. Feeling the hip bones in the legs, feeling their weight, as if they were getting just gradually a little bit heavier. Feeling those muscles, those big muscles all around, just letting go. They don't have a choice. The bones are so heavy, they're just sinking. The muscles are warm and allowing it all to happen. But the toes and feet and legs are relaxing. Toes and feet and legs are relaxed. Being aware that the pelvis is a big bone. And it's becoming slightly heavier as it sinks into the floor. All the muscles around it surrendering to just letting go. Feeling the bones in the spine. And the shoulder blades. Heavy bones sinking into the floor. Even the stubborn muscles around the shoulders. Not having much choice but to surrender to that weight and to release into the ground. And you can feel the weight of the arm bones and all the little bones in the hands. So they were just becoming slightly denser, slightly more weighted, sinking into the floor. And all the muscles letting go. Hands and arms and shoulders are relaxing. Arms and hands are relaxed. And just be aware of the weight of your cranium, your skull, so heavy. Completely supported by the ground. So that all the muscles can just let go. They have nothing they need to be doing right now, nothing they need to be holding on to. Even the jaw is becoming heavier, having to loosen off its joint. But the whole head and neck and jaw are relaxing. Head and neck and jaw are relaxed. And feeling how every bone in the body is just becoming slightly more weighty. All the muscles can't resist, they have to let go. And as you breathe in, you can feel the softness of all those muscles can feel their surrender. And as you breathe out, you can feel those bones beginning to settle on the floor. And the floor come up to meet you and hold you up. So as you breathe in, you're just aware of that soft release. And as you breathe out, you can feel that support as the bones settle down into the ground. Breathing in, just feeling that whole body letting go into the ground. And as you breathe out, just feeling yourself letting go into the floor a little bit more. And then perhaps sometimes just being aware of both these things simultaneously. Both the softness in the body and its weight felt at the same time. It is all happening together. Allowing your attention to fall on the breath. Once again, just feeling that softness of the body as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, just letting go into the floor a little bit more. Any tension that's left in the body just flowing away into the ground. Just enjoying these last few moments with this relaxed body. Knowing that you can come back here anytime you wish. Just takes a little bit of awareness and systematic running through the body. Allow your attention to become a little bit deeper now. Starting to feel a little bit of movement coming in, perhaps to the fingertips and the toes. As the breath deepens, preparing perhaps to roll onto your side, and just have a few moments there to orientate in the room. And when you feel ready, coming up to sitting.